Right, this little lecture is to do with how to use MT32 for the PCEHR. Now, firstly, PCEHR section consists of two components really, the HI service and the various PCEHR services. Now, in order for patients to be able to have a PCEHR and the clinic to be able to access it, there are three identifiers required in MT32. The first one is found under the location settings. Now in this case we're using the database with the location M, and you'll notice here there is the HPIO, which is the identifier for the organisation. So healthcare provider identifier organisation is what HPIO stands for. That is entered at this position here on the location screen. Just above it, when you've made a change in there, the system automatically goes off and validates it against the HI service. It could also be done, validation can also be done by the search button. At this point in time, if this control is blank, search will not work because the HI service end at Medicare is not ready for that feature as yet. The control above that is for testing whether the connection with the CDA bridge component is actually working or not. That is done at the time when the software is installed. A further control on this page is the IHI validation period. Now, under the NETA regulations, the IHI for a patient has to be validated periodically. By default, this is set to daily. In actual fact, it happens only each time the doctor is actually accessing that patient's record. If this expiry time, or if this validation period has expired, before doing anything else to do with the PCEHR, it gets validated against the HI service. Now, the clinic can have a policy to extend this period of time to any time they like, as long as their policy is documented. The next identifier is on the staff setup. Now, every staff member who has clinical duties will be issued with a healthcare provider identifier individual, so HPII, and it is found on here, that one there. Again, the operation is very similar to the location, the hippo. One difference, when you've made a change here, as you notice, I've moved off the control, it does not automatically go and do a validation. The reason for this is again because some of the features at the HI service end aren't quite ready as yet, but secondly, if the doctor, when they applied for this number, has either opted not to have their details published in the healthcare provider directory, or they have accidentally omitted ticking the box on the application form, then even though they do have a valid number, this validation will fail. So as a result, we don't do it automatically, it has to be manually validated. And the third one, if we get out of here, if we bring up a patient, say we do, I think, Grady, yes, Bernice Grady. If we go there, you notice that there are things here that are black, that don't exist at this point in time, and that's because this patient doesn't have their IHI as yet. In this case, the search will actually work. assuming there's an IHI for it and the demographic information here matches what is on the HI service record, we just click that button and it will go off and find, or try to find. Right? Now in this case there's an error. This particular person does not have a record, and you'll notice it's not actually an error as such, it says it's informational, so no healthcare record exists for this patient. So we will get out of this one and we will go and find another one. So this one we will go and have a look at. We will have a look at somebody else. Bernard Carey. Again, no IHI. And we'll go off and have a look. This one does have an IHI, and you've noticed it now appears here in this control. It also states that it's active and it's been verified, and today's date to indicate that that's when it was first verified. Now a couple of additional controls on here. PCEHR upload. The patient has to give consent to the clinic. So if the clinic generates CDA documents for this patient, if this is not ticked, they cannot be uploaded to the PCEHR. So the patient has to opt in. That control gets ticked. Now when we generate something, it can be put up on the PCEHR. Also, you will notice that there's a little PCEHR control that appeared on one of the others that isn't present here, which means that this person does not have one as yet. Now I know also for a fact that in this instance we can't register them because we don't have the right details. So we shall go off and find another patient. My favourite one, who is very ill. We'll go and find Peggy Jordan. Now she has a PCEHR, as you can see here. If you want to verify that, you can go to the PCEHR menu, click PCEHR status. It will then query the PCEHR whether the person has one or not, and it will also query whether one has access or not. Right? So this one time is access granted, so that indicator goes green. I'll go to another patient oops, it will work better if I spell it right, to Buffy Khan, and here you will notice that the indicator is amber. This means that in order to access this person's PCEHR, we need an access code. That access code is provided to the clinic by the patient. They can generate this themselves by accessing their personal portal to the PCEHR. And once the access code has been given to the clinic, that indicator will go green, and from then on the clinic will have full access. The patient can revoke this at any time they desire. Back to Peggy Jordan. Now we want to generate a shared health summary. If we do that, we go to, we go to the consultation screen, and you'll notice there at the bottom here, there's a button, PCEHR document. Click on that, and it brings up a wizard. Now on this wizard you first select the document type. Shared Health Summary at the moment generates everything. I'll partly go through the e-referral, and the Shared Health Summary will eventually work exactly the same way. E-referral, next. Of course there's got to be somebody that the referral goes to. Select. You type in the reason for the referral. Then you can select from the adverse reactions, or the warnings as it's known in MT32. The doctor, by default these are all ticked. The doctor can then select which ones he or she wants to include, so we sort of say, okay, well these don't mean very much, so we're not going to include them. Next. The various medications the patient's been on at various times. Well, Panadol isn't really, deep heat doesn't really matter very much. Next, we're talking about the glaucoma this time. Vaccinations, we'll leave them in, probably really of no interest. And then there was a lab report that we had here, and then we can go off and generate the document. Now for the Shared Health Summary, we just hit next, and it goes away, picks all the data out of the database, and generates the Shared Health Summary. And there it is. Okay, next thing, you save a draft. Now before it can be uploaded, the doctor has to attest to this information. First of all, that as far as they're aware that the contents is true and accurate, and that by uploading that they're going to, that the stuff will be visible to other people. Tick, and then they can do the upload. This again will take a while. It gets packed into a zip file and then uploaded to the PCEHR. Assuming everything works, once it's completed, you'll get a little pop-up that says success. Done. Very simple document. Now of course you might want to go and verify that it's, so now we can do a get document. And the first thing that pops up is a list. So these are all the documents that are up there for this particular patient. You'll notice that they're listed in reverse date order. The latest one at the top. So the reason why the one we just uploaded isn't there as yet is because it hasn't gone through the approval process. There's one from yesterday that we did a test run. So we can double click on that and it will be downloaded. And there we go. So of course, because nothing's changed, yesterday's Shared Health Summary, apart from the identifiers down here, is identical to the one that I just did. Shared Health Summaries don't have histories. But if the documents that have various update histories, click the plus sign and it will bring up any list of updates with versions, and as many as there are will come up in this list. Filtering, you can specify the filtering here. You can decide to do only shared health summaries. At the moment it's everything, but only in a very short range. So it's only for from March to June. And the document ID, if you know it, you can also search on only particular doctors that might have generated it. Right, we'll get out of that. Other features, upload a document I won't do because we've already done that. A representative list. Now patients can have representatives appointed that can do things with their record on their behalf. Mostly this will be a child's parent. So if this record was for a child, the parent would probably be listed in there. But of course you can, as yourself, nominate other people to represent you. So if something needs to be accessed, they'll know who to contact. This particular person does not have a representative, but it's quite clear. So the person's name, the address, and then what type it is. Unfortunately, phone numbers and things aren't included. Audit view. Now this is a view of everything that happened in a particular time range. So again, we can specify a range. By default it's today, but we can change that. And you've got to be careful there, because if the range is too large, the system will give you an error that you're asking for too much. So this is today's efforts. And that's just exactly what that's. One day they will provide an event ID, so date, time, who was accessed, etc., etc. The final one on here, the NPDR, which is the National Prescription and Dispensing Record. So there again, to get this view, so every prescription that's been written for the patient, assuming the patient's given consent, can be uploaded to the PCEHR via the prescription service, and when the pharmacy dispenses it, there is also a record, so this can be brought up. Again, this patient won't have any, so if we do a get view, it will go off. This information can take, if that date range is too large, the information can take a while to be generated because it's generated on the fly. So this person does not have any records. What I'll do is, to show you what it looks like, I will choose another patient. This is one of our test patients. I know this one definitely has information. Again, IHI is present, PCEHR is accessible. So we'll go and do the NPDR view. We'll go back to 1st of January and we'll do a get view. Now you notice this is taking a little bit longer because the PCEHR system has to search. So there we go, so there's a list. So there's quite a few things there. If we click on this, you'll notice it's an active link. It will open up with details, If we now click on this, this is a prescription. It will actually download and fetch the original prescription document. And there it is. So it gives you the prescriber, what was, dosage, various instructions. Okay, so if we go back here, these prescriptions are still there. These can be sorted. Oh. So we can have, by default they're collapsed, we can have them opened up. So you get all these records. We can sort by brand name. Again, by default it collapses again. You can sort by PBS item code or the generic name. Now finally, we will go back to our friend Buffy, because Buffy needs an access code. So now you'll notice if I go, apart from status, if I now want to get a list, I get prompted for an access code. Now imagine Buffy's here in the clinic, she's just collapsed on the floor, and I need some information, but she's passed out, so I can't ask her for an access code and I don't have it. So under those circumstances, I will be allowed to access by emergency, by ticking emergency, and of course you get prompted to explain that this will be recorded in an audit trail that you are actually accessing it, and if you really want to do it, you confirm, okay, and now we've got access. No documents found, so well, it doesn't help us much, right? But we have temporary access. This access lasts for 5 days and then automatically reverts back to needing an access code. Unfortunately, there's no documents for us, so it doesn't really help us very much. Right, now that's it for actually using the program.